Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to The Truth, where I had a terrible first week predicting playoff wins, but I'll get into that next video. Getting back into what we did last week, I thought was very interesting and very fun. Want to do it again. Was the playoff probabilities? What is realistic and what is probable to happen for these teams? Like, what is the best path and when was the most realistic path of these teams making the Super Bowl and then winning the Super Bowl? So getting into it, we have we're gonna start with Tampa Bay, and then we're also gonna start with Houston because both of these teams arguably are the worst in their in each conference in the playoffs right now, in the playoff race right now. So we're gonna go with those two paths. So for Houston, I mean, this is you're gonna be your most favorable matchup. I mean, for Tampa Bay, this is gonna be your most favorable matchup. Sorry, you know, you beat the Eagles. You're gonna have to pull one out against Tampa Bay, and then by the grace of God, you hope that the Buccaneers somehow upset the 49ers. Um, for your easiest matchup, either KC or Buffalo wins. It doesn't really matter, but Houston has to win this matchup, and then KC or Buffalo, it doesn't matter, would win. And then either or would play each other in the championship, or technically the Super Bowl. But either or, and that's how you get that would be your best odds if you're either team. Now, what's realistically going to happen? Tampa Bay will probably play San Fran. I think Baltimore will win. Either Buffalo or KC will win. I'm not really sure on that one yet, but Buffalo will probably. I mean, not Baltimore will probably beat Kansas City. Baltimore's defense is so good, and with Kansas City or Buffalo, those teams who haven't been as hot as Baltimore, I don't really think they. I think they'll score points, but I don't think they'll win it. And then one, you have to, and that's how. Oh, I should say this. Then Baltimore becomes, and Baltimore's in the Super Bowl now. You're most likely, if you're Tampa Bay and you go all the way, you're going to face Baltimore. Now, to get to Baltimore, you got to beat Detroit. It's week after week. Detroit's the next team, and that's going to be really tough because they played a really good Rams team that got hot late and still beat them. So Detroit's really good. You're in Detroit too after their first playoff win with all those emotions. They're going to be riding really high, and they're going to be really, really hot, and that crowd is going to be crazy. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Tampa. But let's say somehow you beat them. Next, now you have to go into San Fran, who is one game away, who has been knocking at the door to get into the Super Bowl. That's another tough one in San Francisco. But let's say you win. Well, now you have to travel against arguably the best defense in the league, either San Fran or Baltimore, whoever you like. I like Baltimore just because I like just how good they are overall. I think it's tough to go against Baltimore's defense because it throws a lot of different things at you. But you have to face Baltimore's defense and then stop Lamar being able to scramble and throw all over you, which is tough in itself. This, I think, is the most unlikely scenario for the Super Bowl winners, but this is how Tampa Bay could win the Super Bowl. Now, going back to it, if you're Houston, realistic what's going to happen, which I think Detroit wins, San Fran wins, and we see San Fran versus Detroit in the playoffs and the conference. But you have Baltimore, or if no, technically Houston. Houston would have to pull off an upset to get to the conference championship, which is already tough. Like that Baltimore team is going to be good. These teams who've had a week to rest are gaining back players, which I don't think people realize, and it's going to be really tough to go against. And then whoever wins against Buffalo and Kansas City, I think I went Kansas City last time. I'll go Buffalo this time. Houston would have to be either Buffalo or Kansas City. I still think that's very tough. And then they probably would have to beat San Fran. I think Detroit has a better chance of upsetting San Fran, but in my personal opinion, San Francisco is just too good. We've seen it year after year of them making it this far. It's tough for me to say that they're not going back to the Super Bowl like they did a couple years ago. and then you'd have to upset this San Francisco defense. Either way, both these 4 seeds are going to probably have to go through Baltimore and San Francisco to win it all. So, it's a tough asking for. So going back, now we're going to do the 3rd seeds, which is the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. Detroit has it, I think, easier than Kansas City, but not as much. Detroit, you got to beat Tampa Bay. That's a must. Ideally, you'd like Green Bay to somehow pull off an upset. And then probably what's going to happen here is Baltimore. I think I went Kansas City this time. I'll go Buffalo. It really doesn't matter because they're both going to be lower seeds in Baltimore. It just who's they're facing. You have Detroit. I think it's a very favorable matchup for Detroit. You'd like Buffalo or Kansas City to win this matchup. Like I said before, I'm still not sure who I like in this. You have this, and then you'd have to beat them to get it. Either way, you're playing some pretty tough defenses. You're going to play a pretty tough defense, most likely, in the Super Bowl. But you have a good offense, which is the good news. Now, likely, probably playing for San Fran. Baltimore's probably winning. You got to beat San Fran, and then you got to beat Baltimore. I mean, I honestly think, these are the teams who are, right now, that's who I think are going to win it all. These are the teams who are going to be right there trying to stop you to win it all. Going to the other side, you have Kansas City. Kansas City, you're going to have to face Baltimore. And the problem with that is you're going to – and the problem, which I haven't figured out if I like Kansas City against Buffalo, is their willingness to run the football. Because they're a good football – they can run up the middle really well. It's just their willingness to hasn't been there all year. And then against Miami, which I didn't think they were going to do it, they did do it. The question is, are they going to do it again? Are they going to stick to that format and try to run the ball again? Because Kansas City's passing game struggled at points against Miami. Because like they have all season, they haven't connected. They haven't hit. It's been wonky at best. But Kansas City's been amazing running the football. When they want to run the football, it is there. But will they? And that's the question. That's the question. If you're a Kansas City fan, you have to ask yourself: Are they going to run the football and then use that run to help open up that passing game, which needs it, and capitalize in the passing game? And it goes the same part for Baltimore. With Patrick Mahomes, you can win this game, but it's tough because of your willingness to commit to the run game. Plus, Baltimore's D-line and this Baltimore defense is really good. Probably going to face San Fran in a rematch. I could see Detroit pulling off the upset here, but I'll probably pick with the safer option in San Fran for right now. And that's what it would take for Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. Going to Green Bay, I kind of waited on this one just because I feel like this is the most unlikely, but we have this little bracket matchup right here. Look, Green Bay has it rough. I think Green Bay has it as tough as to get to the Super Bowl as the Bucs because they still have to go through San Fran, Detroit, and then probably Baltimore. But ideally, you'd like to go against Houston in the Super Bowl. It's not really realistic, I don't think. Although it could happen. Baltimore could lose in the divisional. I just don't think it's the most realistic option. You're probably fighting Baltimore, which I don't think is really the best chances. I don't think you really win that game. But a great first year for Jordan Love. Don't get me wrong. It's been a great year. And if you put up a fight in the end with San Fran, you're riding so high going into the next season as a Packer fan. But this is realistically the teams you're going to face: San Fran, then Detroit, then Baltimore, which is a tough gauntlet. It's a tough gauntlet of teams to play. Going to the number 1 seeds, these are the teams you're most likely going to face. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no if so. Ideally, if you're San Fran, you'd like to play Houston, which I think is a very favorable matchup. But look, I mean, if you're San Fran, you got to go through Detroit, which isn't as bad. Your defense is arguably the best defense in the NFC. You have a really good defense and you have a really good offense as long as you're not turning over the football. As long as you don't turn over the football, you should have really good odds of winning Super Bowl. I know that's tough to say, but if you play clean football, you have really good odds of winning the Super Bowl. But most likely what happens is you're going to play Baltimore. You're going to end up playing Baltimore, and it's going to be the number one seeds against each other. And then San Fran is the team ideally you want to face. Or the San Fran is ideally, this is the game you got to win. Sorry I said that way. It's confusing myself. But yeah, that's the path San Fran has to take. It's a very tough matchup. And as we get more and more closer to the Super Bowl, the more I'm going to talk about these matchups. And then tomorrow you'll hear my predictions. Ideally tomorrow, it might be early Thursday if I can't get to it. But yeah, these are the matchups you're going to face. If you're Baltimore, sure, you want to play Green Bay and win it all. But that's most likely not going to happen. You're probably going to play San Fran. You play Buffalo or Kansas City, either one. You got to win that game. You got to beat Houston. I think it's a more favorable match. I think Baltimore to get to the Super Bowl is a way more favorable matchup. Oh, actually, no. I'll take that back. No, it's not. I think San Fran is a way more favorable option to get to the Super Bowl than Baltimore, just because you play Green Bay and then Baltimore plays Houston. But that being said, if Baltimore wants to realistically win the Super Bowl, this is the path you're going to have to take. You're going to have to beat Houston, and then you're going to have to beat Kansas City or Buffalo. And then you're going to have to go beat San Fran. Both these teams, you should be favored in. This San Fran game, it's a rematch. You played earlier. It's tough to beat teams twice, especially one that you beat in the regular season and then beat them again in the playoffs in the game that matters the most. It's tough. It's possible, but it's tough. But if you're Baltimore, you have great weapons. Hopefully Mark Andrews, that team is fully healthy going into the Super Bowl. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think I kind of hit on my talking points? And what also do you think about these playoff possibilities going against each matchup? Kind of like, looking at each option. Tell me what you think teams are. Tell me if you disagree with one of my takes. If you think another team beating the other team is more realistic than I picked, let me know. Sorry, this was a shorter video, but I did enjoy making this topic and I wanted to continue it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to y'all next time.